last day of school dawned, the hallways of St. Agnes High School buzzed with excitement. Seniors were eager for the final bell, the commencement of summer, and the start of new adventures. Among them was Amelia, a quiet and observant girl who had always felt like an outsider in the halls of her school. As the afternoon sun cast long shadows across the empty classrooms, Amelia found herself drawn to the old library. It was a place she often retreated to, surrounded by dusty tomes and the whispers of centuries-old knowledge. As she wandered amongst the shelves, she came across an ancient leather-bound book with no title. Curiosity piqued, Amelia began to thumb through its yellowed pages. The words on the pages were written in a language she couldn't understand, but as she traced her fingers over the strange symbols, a chill ran down her spine. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and an icy breeze filled the room. Amelia's heart raced as a sense of foreboding washed over her. As she tried to leave the library, the heavy wooden door refused to budge. Panic rising, Amelia pounded on the door, but no one came to her rescue. With no other choice, she turned back to the mysterious book and continued to read, hoping to find a way out of this nightmare. The words seemed to shift and twist before her eyes, forming a chilling prophecy of doom. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she realized that the book was a conduit to another realm, a gateway to the unknown. She was trapped in a world where time stood still, and fear reigned supreme. In the dim light of the library, shadows danced and whispered, taking on sinister shapes and malevolent forms. Amelia's heart hammered in her chest as she tried to make sense of the surreal nightmare unfolding around her. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the pages seemed to echo with the malice of an unseen presence. Lost in a maze of endless corridors and twisting passages, Amelia stumbled upon a figure cloaked in darkness. Its malevolent gaze fixed upon her, chilling her to the core. With a sudden burst of courage, she demanded to know who or what it was. The figure spoke in a voice like cold wind through a graveyard, promising eternal torment and suffering. Amelia grit her teeth, refusing to succumb to the fear that threatened to consume her. She knew that she had to find a way out, to escape the clutches of this malevolent force before it was too late. With trembling hands, she reached for the book once more, desperate for answers, for a way out of this nightmare. As she turned the final page, a blinding light flooded the room, and the shadows retreated into nothingness. When her vision cleared, Amelia found herself standing outside the library, the setting sun casting a warm glow over the school grounds. The book lay at her feet, its pages blank and its secrets lost to the ages. As she walked away from St. Agnes High School for the last time, a sense of unease lingered in the back of her mind. She knew that she had narrowly escaped a fate worse than death, a fate that still haunted the halls of the old school. And as she glanced back at the crumbling facade, Amelia could have sworn she saw a shadowy figure watching her from an upstairs window, its eyes filled with malevolent intent. The mystery of that last day at school would forever remain unsolved, a chilling reminder of the darkness that lurked just beneath the surface of the familiar. Story number 2, The Last Bell. It was the final day of high school, a day everyone had waited for. Students were buzzing with excitement, eager to close one chapter and step into a new world. Laughter echoed through the halls, lockers slammed shut for the last time, and the air was thick with nostalgia. But amidst the smiles and selfies, there was something off. Something lurking beneath the surface of the day's festivities. Jake, Emily, and their group of friends had decided to stay behind after everyone else left. They wanted to roam the empty halls one last time, just for fun. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the once vibrant school grew eerily quiet. The janitor had long since finished cleaning, and the teachers had locked their doors. The only sound was the distant hum of the old heating system, which seemed louder now that the halls were empty. "Let's go to the basement," Emily suggested, her voice a mix of curiosity and mischief. Jake hesitated. "Isn't that place off limits? I heard it's been abandoned for years." "That's why we have to go," she insisted, her eyes glinting with excitement. "Come on, it's our last day." "What could go wrong?" The group exchanged nervous glances, but the allure of breaking a final rule was too tempting to resist. They made their way toward the basement stairs, tucked away behind the old gym. The stairwell was dimly lit, and the air grew colder as they descended. At the bottom, they found a rusty metal door. Emily reached out to push it open, but the door swung on its own, creaking as it revealed a dark hallway lined with dusty lockers. The group hesitated, the air suddenly thick with a feeling of dread. Maybe this isn't such a good idea, Jake muttered, but Emily was already walking inside, her phone flashlight cutting through the gloom. The others followed reluctantly. As they moved deeper into the basement, the temperature dropped, and a faint buzzing sound filled the air. Old, forgotten trophies and dusty class photos lined the walls, relics from decades past. I don't remember this hallway being so long, Emily said after a while, her voice echoing strangely. Are we sure we're still in the school? Of course we are, Jake replied, though his voice wavered. He checked his phone, but it had no signal, and the time display had frozen. Suddenly, they heard a faint tapping sound. At first, it seemed like it was coming from behind them, but then it shifted, echoing from the walls around them. The group stopped, glancing at each other nervously. Did you hear that? Emily asked. Before anyone could respond, the lights above flickered and went out, plunging them into darkness. Phones illuminated, but the beams of light felt weak, barely cutting through the thick blackness. That's when they noticed something horrifying. The lockers had started to move. Slowly, methodically, the rusted metal doors creaked open, one by one, revealing nothing. Only darkness, like the shadows inside were alive, pulsating with something unseen. A cold gust of wind whipped through the hallway, carrying with it the sound of faint whispers. The words were unintelligible, but the tone was unmistakable, malicious, angry. I think we should leave, Jake said, backing toward the door. But the door was no longer there. The hallway behind them stretched endlessly, the stairs they had come down nowhere to be seen. Panic set in. Emily screamed as something brushed past her arm, cold and wet, though no one was near. The air was thick with the smell of rot now, like something long dead. The whispers grew louder, almost like a chant, reverberating through the hall. Suddenly, the group saw a figure at the end of the corridor. It was a girl, her back turned to them, standing still in the middle of the hallway. She was dressed in an old-fashioned school uniform, one that looked out of place, like from decades ago. Who's that? Emily whispered, her voice trembling. Jake stepped forward, raising his phone light toward the girl. Hey, are you? Before he could finish, the girl's head jerked unnaturally to the side, her neck snapping with a sickening crack. Her face, pale and gaunt, was void of eyes, only dark, hollow sockets staring back at them. The lockers slammed shut all at once with a deafening bang, and the whispers turned into screams. Jake turned to run, but the hallway twisted, shifting like a maze. Emily grabbed his arm, but something yanked her back into the shadows. She let out a blood-curdling scream, and then, silence. The last thing Jake saw before everything went black was the eyeless girl walking toward him, her twisted grin widening. The next morning, the school was abuzz with stories about the group of students who had gone missing on their last day. No one knew where they had gone or what had happened. But some whispered that if you stood by the old gym at night, you could still hear their screams echoing from the basement. And the last bell never rang again.